Do you want to be ahead of the game for the latest in arts, music, cuisine, and entertainment across the Middle East's most dynamic capital cities? Al Monitor is proud to launch our City Pulse newsletters, focused exclusively on local news, starting in Riyadh, Dubai, Istanbul, and Doha. Each week, our on-the-ground writers in these cities cover the latest cultural happenings and trends, so you have everything you need to know for the best local experiences. To subscribe for free, go to almonitor.com, that's al-monitor.com, and sign up on our newsletter page.
Welcome back to On the Middle East, Al Monitor's podcast on the big and important developments in the region. My name is Amran Zaman, and today I'll be talking to a rather extraordinary individual. His name is Murad Ismael, and he was just elected as a member of the Iraqi parliament in nationwide elections that were held on November 11th. What is exceptional about Ismail is that he ran under the banner of an all-Yazidi alliance, the first of its kind in Iraq, without the support of the deeply entrenched patronage networks that define politics and secure wins. Ismail has long been a leading voice for fellow Yazidis, who were the victims of genocide perpetrated by the Islamic State in 2014. More than 3,100 of them were killed in the course of a few days. Nearly 7,000 more were abducted, with women enslaved and sexually exploited. In his first interview since his election, Ismail described his mission to us. So welcome to our program, Murad. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Amberin. Thanks for having me.
So could you kindly explain to us why you decided to run under an all-Yazidi banner rather than joining the traditional alliances that make it so much easier to win in an Iraqi election?
There were actually quite a few reasons. First of all, that Yazidis historically have been going to the parliament through the Kurdish political parties and through the quota system, which allow one person from the Yazidi community to be elected as a member of parliament. In the last cycle, they changed the law of the quota, and it became very difficult for the Yazidis individually or as individual political parties to compete because the main component, like the main political groups, like really the main ones, they were able to intervene into the Yazidi quota, and it was very difficult for the Yazidis to compete. So and also Yazidis disadvantaged in terms of the number of quota seats. So we have only one quota seat. For example, in comparison with the Christians who have 5, and Yazidis' numbers are much higher than the one seat. So we should be qualified for 5 seats, but we are all forced to go and compete for just one quota seat. So this time we decided to kind of just really change the whole structure of how we compete politically, which meant is we created this coalition to collect all the Yazidi votes as much as possible by having many candidates. We had 32 candidates, actually 22 active ones. And we were able to compete, and we got about 50,000 votes, almost. Actually, we got half of the Yazidi votes, almost half of the Yazidi votes of every Yazidi who went to the election. So I think this was a very decisive victory. It's probably one of the few surprises in the Iraqi political landscape.
How many seats did you win?
We won just one because of the system, which basically gives preference to the large blocks. But we were able to actually pass the minimum, which was about 40,000, and we were only a few thousand votes short of getting the second seat.
That's really extraordinary. Well, amazing accomplishment, really. So tell us, what are the big challenges that lie ahead for you? I mean, there's a reason you ran. It wasn't just to get around all these rules. It was beyond asserting yourselves on that level, but really to achieve something for your people. What are your goals as a member of parliament?
So, I think for me, I would have never intervened in the Iraqi political system if Yazidis were recovered from the Yazidi genocide. if Yazidis were able to go back home safely, if Yazidis were able to rebuild their lives, if Yazidis were freed from the captivity, if Yazidi mass graves were removed, if Yazidis were able to have a normal life after the genocide. What happened, we've went through 11 years of conflict, political conflict, also security conflict that prevented Yazidis from going back to their homeland. So it was really, I think, the problem that the Yazidis face after the genocide is a political problem. It's a political problem where um, all the sides of power really don't have the Yazidi interest in the center of their policies. This was really the only option we had, especially over the past couple of years, the international community, the United Nations, whether it was UNITAD, whether it was UNAMI, whether it was the international, community with the international donations that would come to the Yazidi community, we were able to mobilize, some of the support for the Yazidis over the past couple of years. But that thing now has gone, and Yazidis now are in this Iraqi equation, which is basically it's a very complicated, difficult equation that shares the power between the three main components. The Shia, the Sunnis are the Kurds, and really the Yazidis and the other minorities really don't have no voice. So our goal is to have a representation and to have an independent representation, because the minorities representation have also been hijacked by the big groups. And really the way they changed the quota system last time also, basically anyone in Iraq can vote for the minorities quota seats, which was the purpose of it was to make it easy for the bigger non-minority groups to or parties to take their seats. So I will focus on practical things, basically, and I'm a very practical person. If you know me for
Oh,
a long
yes,
time,
I do.
I
A
I
very
try
determined one.
determined, practical. I try to get things done. I will try to work very hard to get the administration in Sinjar uh, sorted. We Yazidis mostly live in a in the district. Still does not have a mayor after 11 years. It has actually two mayors, but none of them are official. But also, it's just people have to go by car like 2-3 hours just to get something stamped, a paperwork. Yazidi IDPs have not been able to go back home. If you look to Iraq, all IDPs have been able to go back. Even ISIS family members have been brought from Al Hol camp, when at the time we have 150,000 Yazidis still live in the camp. And by the way, we got a lot of the votes that came from the camps. We did not even visit the camps. I did not go to any single camp. I did not go to any of these places in the camps. But we're still about half, a little bit less than half, competing with the biggest party. So our bloc was actually able to push away all the political parties who have been in the Yazidi file or the Yazidi representation for the past 23 years, the old ones and the new ones. It's really a change. It's really a change in the dynamics. I would like to take the Yazidi IDPs back home. I would like to get the administration, and I would like also to get, to get, Sinjar rebuilt, compensation for people. Nobody got compensated for what happened to them. Even IDPs who they took back home, they never give them, this 4 million dinars to rebuild their lives. So it's really a big challenge. The area also is going through a lot of the environmental issues, like lack of water, for example, lack of education. A lot of the projects never got rebuilt, like Sinjar University, for example. So I would like to be very practical to help the Yazidi community find hope and find normal life and peace after the genocide.
That's such a tremendous responsibility. We're talking about the mayors of Sinjar, and there was this agreement that was supposed to be enforced that had been put together by the UN, Baghdad, the KRG, but was never enforced. Can you just tell us a little bit about the dynamics on the ground in Sinjar, where you have these Shia-backed militias on the one hand, and the sort of groups that are allegedly linked to the PKK, and then those with the KDP? How do you navigate all of that?
So yeah, basically, even Sinjar agreement was done in a way that Yazidis had no representation in it. Yazidi had no voice in it, and we rejected the Sinjar agreement. We think Sinjar agreement is invalid at this point, and we think there's a need for a new vision for Sinjar. I would not even call it agreement. We need a new vision because you really don't need an agreement on Sinjar. It's a place, it's a part of Iraq. It's a liberated part of Iraq that is not under control of any ISIS or anybody else. You just need a normal return of services, of administration, security. Security dynamics, of course, still have some issues. For example, as you mentioned, the YBS, for example, still potentially could be some issue. But I was in Sinjar. You saw my campaign. I actually was walking town by town, and I did a campaign in a very different way, both before and after I won. And I went to every single village in Sinjar. It's a peaceful place. I mean, it is safe. It's not a place that nobody can go to. By the way, Sinjar is also under blockade. People like you cannot get to Sinjar right now. A journalist cannot get to Sinjar, and it's a political decision. It's not a security decision. I will, of course, try to I will try to work within the possibilities to make sure that Sinjar is under rule of law. To me, is very important for any region in Iraq to be under rule of law within the constitution framework, which means you only have forces that are under the umbrella of the law. That's it. Also, I'd like Yazidis to have their protection within the Iraqi framework, within the Iraqi constitution, which mean that everybody who bear weapons in 2000 after 2014, they should be under an organized structure under the framework of the state. It is not an easy challenge. It's a very difficult one. But actually, the state itself has been doing very well in Sinjar. Sinjar is much better than when it was back a few years ago. So I think security part of it is not as complicated as people think. We need to clarify some issues. Some issues will take a longer time. One thing is very important, that we don't want military conflict in Sinjar anymore. We want return of life, services, hope, happiness, and that's something that really that caught my mind, Brian. For the first time, Yazidis feel happy after the genocide. For the first time, people laugh, people gather, people celebrate in the streets, and that's something. No, whatever you do in terms of materialistic thing, it cannot change that. But giving the Yazidis hope, giving Yazidis a way and a look to the future, I think that was one of the main things for my campaign, and it was very fantastic, Ambrian. Like I did not buy a single vote, which is Iraq now. A lot of people are buying votes. I did not threaten anyone. No militias behind me. No political party behind me. All the money I spent came from the donations from the regular people and was very small money. Very small money. And it's a new, I think my campaign will be an example for the future of Iraq. What can Iraqis do to make change? What can Iraqis do, normal Iraqis who have worked hard in their life, to come in and find the right political umbrella and to compete and to come to Baghdad and to fight for the rights. Iraq is in very deep problems, economic, political, security, environment, and we need a lot of Iraqis. We need good Iraqis to come to Baghdad. We need good Iraqis who believe in this country, who believe in their people, and who are not part of this whole structure of corruption, of militias, corruption, political parties who are using state resources. That was another thing, political parties here, they use the state to stay in power. So they use state money, state resources. They hire people in a very illegal way. So a lot of illegal things are going on in Iraq, and a lot of issues, the use of forces. Like, for example, so some of them would tell me, for example, Ambrian, that certain political party, they have a block of solid votes that they are like constant. And I said, in democracy, you have no solid votes. You can take one vote and you can take 50,000 votes. But and we were really very democratic coalition. I think probably we are the most democratic coalition in the world, not just in Iraq, that has nothing but democracy that went through the process.
Today's transformation of the Middle East is at the center of global geopolitics. Whether you're an analyst, diplomat, executive, or academic, you need the best reporting and analysis to understand what's really happening on the ground and what it means for the world. Al Monitor is the award-winning independent leader in Middle East news. From Riyadh to Beirut, Abu Dhabi to Doha, and Baghdad to Tehran, our team of over 100 expert journalists report daily on the top stories driving the regional trends. Download our mobile app and subscribe to Al Monitor to follow what leaders and decision makers are reading every day. Go to almonitor.com, that's AL-MONITOR.com, and use promo code POD25, POD25, for a discount.
You mentioned security and you said it's a much safer place, and one reason is perhaps that also Turkey has stopped attacking Sinjar in line with its efforts to reach some kind of deal with Abdullah Öcalan and the PKK, the Kurds in Turkey. You mentioned the YBS, which for the audience we need to explain is the group of Yazidi Kurds who are associated, at least that's what's alleged, with the PKK. What role, if any, do you think external actors have in helping your people? And I would particularly name the United States in this regard, because under Donald Trump, we see more involvement in the Middle East, however much he claimed that he wanted to get out. And we have a new special envoy for Iraq, Mark Savaya. Have you met him, and do you believe they can be helpful to you?
So, I believe Iraq should be a strong, independent state that is capable to do its own work. But I also believe that the international community, specifically or broadly, the Western states and also China, other countries who are very powerful economically, they can play a significant role in helping Iraq come back. And the United States has leadership and moral, I think, responsibility. If you remember, I met with President Trump when he signed the resolution to recognize the Yazidi genocide. And I was the only Yazidi who met with the president at that time, when I met with him. And that photo went viral throughout my campaign. So Yazidis do put a lot of hope on President Trump and on the United States to come to help as much as possible. One thing I noticed that the aid to the Yazidi community has stopped completely from the international community. There is no NGOs are working on the ground. There is no support that's coming in, while the Iraqi government did not step up its support. So we need, one thing I will be working on it is to bring back as many as possible of the non-profit organizations and also international donations back to the Yazidi areas and non-Yazidi areas as well. It's in Sinjar, plans to be able to create a really create a life at least that's better than what it was 11 years ago. So I hope that the US will play a support role, both also political support role, because even though I have this one seat in the parliament, but still just one seat among 327 seats or 328 seats. It's still a small number of small power, but I believe that my international connections, my history working with almost everybody, that will help the Yazidi community and help Iraq as well. I really want to not only focus on the Yazidi side of things. I want also to focus on Iraq as a country. I want Iraq to be integrated to the world. I want Iraq to not be an isolated on the, let's say, or the on the brink of sanctions, of issues, of conflicts. I want Iraq to be a stable place, just like other Gulf states, where we can bring investment, where we can bring companies, where we can bring really education as well. Good universities, companies to come and make manufacturing here. I would like to hire people. I would like to find opportunities to hire people by bringing international investment to Iraq. I really have a lot of plans and a lot of hopes, and I don't know how much success I will find in it, but I will do my best to both help the Yazidi community recover from genocide, but also help Iraq recover and have a stable life and a future. The Iraqi youth are very powerful and they're very smart. Well, And Iraq has a lot of human resources. Iraq also has a lot of potential with the natural resources. Iraq has a lot of oil, a lot of minerals. Iraq has a lot of potential. But Iraq needs to really work really hard to make sure Iraq is put on track. For example, the way that China was put on track after like 80s. Iraq needs really a long vision and a big vision. Iraq cannot stay in this stagnant stage where people find government just for years of opportunity to make more money. We need we need to really bring good people to Baghdad. We need to have plans to work, and I'm hopeful. I don't know much about the Iraqi politics, just to be honest. I'll be learning a lot while I'm here, but I will try to bring a new vision to Iraq, not just to the Yazidis, but a new vision to Iraq as well.
Well, just one final question, Murad. I know you have to run, but there's still the issue of the missing Yazidis, those who were kidnapped by the Islamic State, men and women, children who have, not been recovered. There's that. And then there's also this issue of many Yazidis being sent back from the countries where they were granted asylum, notably Germany. Could you just touch upon those two issues before I let you go?
Very, very important issues that a lot of people actually brought on the campaign. A lot of people brought these two issues to me. And I would like to, with the missing Yazidis, I would like the Iraqi government to create a security body that will look for these people and will try to locate them and bring them back. I would like also to do some work in Syria, for example, to get the new government, to push the new government to help the Yazidis who are still in captivity to come back. I would like also to do something with the whole camp where we believe a lot of Yazidis are there. I would like to, of course, meet with all the actors and talk to all the actors to make sure that we can bring as many Yazidis as possible back. Create some channels of communication, for example, for the missing ones to contact. I would like also to use my social media, for example, for that. I think that's very, very important. On the on the asylum rejections, yeah, that's another thing I think on my plan is to pursue, which is, for example, countries like Germany and Netherlands, they both recognize the Yazidi genocide. And they just after like 2 years of recognizing the genocide, then they are taking Yazidis back to their homes. And I think they should not. I think on humanitarian ground, they should not take Yazidis back to their homes. So I will try to meet with some of these politicians, member of parliament in these countries, to to ask them for their continued support. A strong Yazidi diaspora is also good for Yazidis of Iraq. Sinjar is a limited space. I mean, does not even have water in it. You have to now drill like to 200 meters just to get to water. And if that situation, environmental situation continues, honestly, like it will be not security that will force people to leave. It will be environment that will allow people. And I think a lot of Iraqis will be migrating from their areas if we don't address the water issue, if we don't address the jobs, joblessness. So I would like a strong Yazidi diaspora and that is capable economically, that is also integrated with the Yazidis of Iraq to be able to work together. And I think that's a good system for Iraq as well, if we can bring all the Iraqis who are outside to do investment while we give them a better opportunity to live abroad and also to learn. And a lot of Yazidis speak good English, good German, good other languages, and they are able to use their skills to help the Yazidi community recover. So I think I would like to meet with these countries, Australia, for example, Canada, for example. These countries are very important for Yazidis. They still are taking some people, but I have a lot of stories to tell about that probably don't have time for this interview, but there were people waiting for 10 years. Even the US has stopped taking Yazidis and non-Yazidis in Iraq who were eligible to be taken back, been taken to the US. Now that whole process of resettlement has stopped in the US as well. So there's really few countries, Germany, Netherlands, US, that have to work hard on it to make sure that they continue their support for asylum on humanitarian ground. And there are other countries like Canada and Australia that they have. I think they should. They are doing great, by the way, and I really appreciate it. It's very wonderful, to see Yazidis in Australia, for example, prosperous. About 10,000 Yazidis now live in Australia when we did not have a single Yazidi, almost not even 10 Yazidis living there 10 years ago. In Canada, they are doing very well, but yeah, we really need to work on these two files a lot.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, and we wish you the best of luck, and we hope to stay in touch with you and keep track of your progress.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So this brings us to the end of this week's episode of On the Middle East. More power to Murad Ismael, I say, and for more on Iraq and the rest of the region, go to our website www.al-monitor.com. Thank you and goodbye.